is Roula Inglesi-Lotz. I'm currently a professor at the Department of Economics at University of Pretoria here in South Africa. And I'm ASLP 2019 cohort. It feels for many of us, and I think I've spoken with quite a lot of people in our cohort specifically, and we can say that our life is before ASLP meeting and after ASLP meeting. I think before attending the workshop, before even applying for the workshop, I attended very highly structured academic formal series of lectures and seminars. So yes, this was completely out of my field. So it was not an economics, it was not an energy related workshop, but I was expecting to gain insights for leadership, for how the scientific community works and all of these things. But I assumed in my mind that it would be very theoretical, less engaging, focused on the theory of leadership, focused on how we network, focused on the academia. And I think I was expecting definitely less focus on personal development, less focus on human interactions, human relations, and definitely what I experienced was completely different. So the workshop was completely interactive. It had a strong emphasis on practical exercises that we could do for ourselves and with our teams later on. It put a lot of things in perspective of the experiences we had until then. And what I loved was also the real world applications of leadership principles, because many times I felt like, okay, but we do that. I do that in my life, but I didn't know how to how to formalize the experience, how to use the right words. So it was definitely a hands-on experience, completely different to what I thought. And the other thing that I think was quite different was all the workshops, seminars, or whatever else I've attended before, they didn't have a continuation after the finishing of the workshop. They didn't have a follow-up. It was the time of the workshop, the focus in the workshop, and stopping there. There was no, and what after? What is coming after? How do we apply after? How is that becoming a community and not a once-off workshop? So I think this changed my view on how workshops are organized as well. It feels as if there was a time before ASLP and then life after ASLP. So it was and it still is, a very transformative experience, both with regards to professional development, but also personal development and how I see myself. So on the one side, it was it has been the valuable leadership training that we got, but also creating and fostering and nurturing a sense of community and collaboration among fellows. The whole experience completely changed my view on the importance of what everybody calls soft skills, but I think we almost downgrade them by calling them soft skills, but emotional intelligence, effective communication and leadership, things that go beyond the academic skills, the academic content that we got the training while we were studying. So during the fellowship, my eyes were opened there. And surely by being in this cohort, I must say that with very few of the fellows in our cohort, I've worked on an academic content basis, writing a paper together, because coming from social sciences also, especially 5 years ago, there were not many of us within the teams. But I realized that this need for multidisciplinarity came in by discussing with the other fellows, and with the majority of them we have collaborated in leadership initiatives or in personal challenges, which is something that no other fellowship experience can offer. So I think it helped me a lot realize that I'm a leader, even if I'm not at a certain level, if you may. There's hierarchy in academia, and we're all leaders, even if we have 2 students supervising. So that the whole leadership, what is leadership, changed through these years since 2019 of the fellowship. Every time we meet with the other fellows in different environments, it's interesting how some of them have really stuck to all of us, but also each of us has their own separate ones. But if I close my eyes and I think, what is ASLP? Our graduation, the ASLP 2019, our finishing of our cohorts discussions and the workshop coincided with the launch of Future Africa. So the party that night was big. And if I close my eyes and remember one moment, I remember us sitting in a circle, not only our cohort, but many other cohorts that were invited for the launch of Future Africa back then, and being in a circle with the other fellows and making music together. We had that experience, and then looking around, we didn't realize what we were experiencing at that moment, but looking at the pictures and the videos afterwards, nobody was talking. That was the interesting part for me, that we had created such a bond that nobody was talking. Everybody was just playing music or dancing or moving around. There was no talking, but there was such a profound sense of community that, yeah, for me, that's the ASLP. That's that sense of community. Another memorable moment was the night that we did the painting exercise, and I think that many of us remember with a bit of a, we can feel it in our heart, because having a painting exercise and then somebody putting a knife and completely destroying the painting exercise, it was a very strong moment. But I think that's what we enjoyed in that workshop, the use of emotions to explain something, this exaggeration to make something real, we will remember. And then the other thing that was very big for me was the discussion of the milestones of our life, the 10 milestones that we had to find a fellow. Remember, we didn't know each other, and all of a sudden we had to find somebody to open our heart and speak about the people that changed us and the milestones in our lives that changed us. And that was huge for me, to open up like that to a stranger initially, right? The first thing that comes to mind with this question is I felt more confident into understanding my advantages and my disadvantages, and my good things and the bad things, and that all of them come in a package. Because before that, I was keeping myself behind. I was always talkative in meetings and things like that, but I was keeping myself behind from raising my hand and saying, I'll take over, I'll do it. Because I was thinking, but they might not like the fact that I do ABC. Now, after the workshop, I could raise my hand and say, you know what, I can do that, but this is the package you get. You get good things and bad things, and I'm working on the bad things, and some of them are part of my personality, and some of them part of the things that I need to work on. So that was the one thing. It gave me confidence that I can do it. There's nothing wrong with how I do things. I'm constantly learning. The other thing was that for me, from the discussions, it was also a turning point in the way I was thinking, because being trained as an economist, we have this idea that this kind of things that say science are not for us. They're for hard scientists, not for social scientists. So that workshop changed my view of that there's no exclusion in these discussions. For example, looking at the South African Young Academy of Science or Global Young Academy. Until then, I would think, you know what, they're not for me. They're not going to offer anything to me as an economist or a social scientist. And that changed there. What I apply quite a lot, and I need to remind myself even more, is the language we use. And that has changed. The language we use between us as scientists, but also to policymakers, how science communication works, the very valuable lesson of the power of using and not but. Sometimes I fall back to the but I try to remind myself, but that's something that changed in the way we communicate. And also what also changed, and the application from the things I learned in that workshop and from my fellows over the years, is the emphasis on personal growth, the ability to reflect. It's central to professional development and career development. The two are not working separately. We talk about work-life balance, but the one is not exclusive to the other one. They all work together. So if I don't work on my personal growth, how will I work on my professional growth, and vice versa? Listening skills and communication skills, how we communicate. For me, it's very important, because I don't only apply it for myself or try, but I teach my students to apply them. And that knowledge of how to listen and how to receive information and how to disagree in discussions, that knowledge, if we can pass it to the students and to other mentees, we realize that the skills we learned at the ASLP have a multiplier effect. They don't go only to the fellows, they transmit to the rest of the scientific community and the society around us. I mean, some of the exercises I do with my children, and so we realize the magnitude that these skills can have. An African science leader, for me, it's someone who strives for excellence in their scientific field first. That also has the ability and willingness to learn how to inspire, mentor, empower others, this multiplier effect. An Africa science leader is not a static view. You need to constantly learn. You need to constantly adapt, because in my view, the African science community has just started, and that's such a hopeful way of thinking. It has just started. We still need to go through a lot before we can say, okay, now we should never say that's where we are, because then we don't evolve, we don't progress and improve. An Africa science leader is somebody that they are committed to driving positive change within the communities and beyond the communities. That doesn't mean that everything falls on the leader. It's driving positive change means acknowledging who is important for what part of this change. But to do that, this African science leader should be a visionary, should be a person that also looks forward, acknowledging where we're coming from. And that's a very difficult balance. A person that is committed to collaboration and can leave behind personal, maybe not leave behind, maybe take with personal ambitions and put them at the same front with the importance of collaboration. Because leaders that look for sustainable solutions to solve these unique challenges that our continent has, need to be able to walk with others and understand that sometimes they will get resistance. So they need to work around resistance. So science leaders should be able to be resilient, adaptive enough to walk around resistance and not lose sight of what's the ultimate, the sustainable development of the country for improving the livelihoods of the people without forgetting the environment. The first thought is that I encourage the scientific community to continue supporting programs like the ASLP, because we still have a lot of work to reach scientists all over the continent, but also understanding that there's young scientists coming in the whole time. So it's not a pool of scientists that's where we reach and then that's it. We need to prepare to nurture the next generation of science leaders that will drive innovation, that will drive development across the continent. The message is, and it's difficult for me to say because I'm an African by choice, not by chance, not because I was born here, I'm an African by choice, but the lesson for me is go out, learn, collaborate, and bring back the knowledge. And at the same time, appreciate and respect the knowledge we have in the African continent, the experiences we have in the African continent that are very different to the rest of the world, and reach to that knowledge as well and combine it with the new knowledge that is getting developed. Because I think that coming in together it's complicated, it's difficult, but we might find unique solutions by bringing this knowledge together. So to all the community, I think we should continue doing what we're doing and remind ourselves the skills that we've learned in ASLP, continue collaborating, continuing sharing knowledge, inspiring one another, and be there when the one person is a little bit behind and needs a hand to get them out of a difficult spot, because we all go through these difficult spots. Be there for each other. And I think if these values of the ASLP cohorts get expanded to the scientific community in Africa, then we look at a different development of science in the continent. That's the most difficult question of all. It's so many adjectives and it's so many nouns as well, but it's also so many verbs, because we learn to do, to learn, to share, to create, and all of these things. So it's so many things together, and it's so many emotions that you can't put in words, and it's so many thoughts and memories and pictures in your mind that you can't put in words. But I think if I have to pick one of all of this, transformative.